All right, Pythagorean theorem part 2. We are still using the Pythagorean theorem. So we are still going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we learned in Pythagorean theorem part 1, a and b are what vocabulary word? Legs. And c is what vocabulary word? Hypotenuse. Sometimes, most of the time, with Pythagorean theorem, they give you two sides and you need to find the third side. So all we're going to do today with this concept is find the missing side. And today it's only going to be the hypotenuse. Later on, we'll learn how to find a missing leg. But today, all we're going to find is the hypotenuse. And there are 4 easy steps. I love steps that rhyme, steps that follow a pattern, that kind of sing song in your head. So, step number 1 is to substitute. Do you know how to substitute? What does that mean? If I'm gone, I have a substitute. What does the substitute do? They fill in for me, right? So substitute, you take a number and put it in for a variable. You fill it in. Substitute. S-I-M-P-L-I-F-Y. Simplify. What does it mean to simplify? Yeah, make it smaller. Make it easier. Condense it. Put it all together. Substitute. Simplify. Solve. And today we even might skip the solve because there's putting it together is solving. And then the last but not least is square root, which we reviewed in part 1. Substitute, simplify, solve, square root. Do you remember what that's called when everything starts with the same letter? Alliteration. All right, substitute, simplify, solve, square root. If you follow those 4 S's, you're good to go. Let's practice because it really is just that easy. Six centimeters and 8 centimeters. Can you find the missing side? All right. We're again looking for just the hypotenuse. So what's my A value? 6. What's my B value? 8. And what's my C value? X. We don't know. Could you use the variable X? Could you use the variable C? Could you use the variable Y? Yeah. Any variable will do. I suggest you stay away from A and B just because we use those but you could do anything. All right, so 6 squared plus 8 squared equals X squared, right? I don't know. It's my missing side. I substituted my values. A squared is 6 plus b squared, b is 8, equals c squared. What's 6 times 6? 36. Plus, what's 8 times 8? 64. Equals, do you know what x times x is? It's x squared, right? Substitute. Simplify. Solve. What's 36 plus 64? And last but not least, square root. What's the square root of 100? There we go. X equals 10 centimeters. Let's try one more. If A is if A is 4 and B is 6.1, can you find C? If A is 4 and B is 6.1, can you find C? It's already labeled A, B, and C. So, substitute. Instead of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, what am I going to write? Four squared plus 6.1 squared equals, do you know what c is? Could I make it x? Could I leave it c? Substitute. Simplify. What's 4 squared? 16. Plus, what's 6.1 or 6 1/10 squared? Oops. I forgot to press the squared button. 37.21. Equals, do we know what c is yet? Nope. Substitute, simplify, solve. 16 plus 37.21 is 53.21 equals c squared. Am I done? Is that the answer? What's the last step? Square root. The square root on your calculator is second and x squared, your square button. See how it's above it? 53.21. Let's do nearest hundredth. 2 decimal places. So c equals what? 7.29. Does that make sense? Is 7.29 the longest of all the sides? Would it make sense to have 4, then a little bit more than 6, and then have the longest part be 7? Yeah. It's that easy.